This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, as per your locations and time zones. So, let's begin our first class in Linux administration, or second class, you can say, as introductory part has been completed yesterday, as what is Linux, what's the history of Linux, and how it came into the picture, and where Linux is standing in the market. Now, we are going to learn a very important aspect of Unix and Linux. As you know, Linux is derived from Unix. So we are going to learn the basics of Unix, right? So these basics of Unix will be helping us to understand the architecture and workability of Linux operating system. So what we are going to learn today is the architecture of Unix. So what's the architecture of Unix? Let's try to understand. See, architecture explains us how Unix operating system works. What is the workability of Unix and Linux? One and the same, you can say. So guys, let me draw a picture for you for better understanding. See, the innermost layer where all the transactions will be performing is called as hardware layer. All the operations, whatever we perform, will be performed on hardware layer. See, if you are trying to store a file, where you will store the file? You will store a file in hard disk or the pen drive. What is hard disk and pen drive? These are nothing but hardware. You wanted to work with internet. You go to a browser and you type google.com. So your connecting to google.com is happening with the help of whom? It is being done with the help of network adapter. What is network adapter? It's a hardware, right? You wanted to listen to a music. When you play the music, your speakers will make the music play. So what is that speakers? Those are also hardware. So basically, whatever task we are performing in our operating system, it is done on hardware layer. And this hardware layer is controlled by whom? See, hardware layer is controlled by kernel. Yesterday we learned that kernel is the most important component in the operating system that does all the activities. Even the hardware will be controlled by kernel. As I told you yesterday that all type of management, whether it is file management, CPU management, memory management, IO management, or any kind of management it might be, it will be handled by kernel alone. Okay, and we, the users, will be coming at the end of this architecture. Now here comes a problem, guys. The problem is user will understand only human readable language. English, Urdu, Arabic, Telugu, Spanish, French, etc. We does not understand system level language. Whereas the kernel, it works purely on system language or binary language. It does not understand user level language. Now, how come a user is going to communicate with kernel then? So in this scenario, we require a mediator that would be converting my instructions to kernel and kernel instructions to mine. Now, who would be that? That is nothing but your shell. So guys, shell is an interface, interpreter through which I will be communicating with kernel and kernel will be communicating with me. So it converts user level language into system level and system level language to user level. How exactly it works, you see. we as a user will be accessing the shell. Now, shell are of two types. One is command line shell, where you can type the commands, and the other one is graphical shell, on which we are working right now. I'm drawing, making some double click and opening the files and something like that. These are graphical shell. And other than that, we have one more shell, that is command line shell. Like in Windows also, you have a command line shell, isn't it? So on this command line, you can run some command and those commands will be executed. So we have two types of shell, command line shell as well as graphical shell. So anyway, let us say that I access the shell, and on the shell, I will type some command. Let us say we are working with a command line shell. So on that shell, I will be typing some command in English, human readable language. What shell does is it will first analyze that the command what you have executed or what you have asked it to execute, is it a proper command or not? If the command is correct, it will proceed to next step. If the command you have typed is incorrect, you will see error message that this command is invalid or something like that. Now let us say that the command is perfect. So that command will be converted into binary format and it will be forwarded to kernel. Now kernel will understand that what exactly you are asking it to perform. Then it will go to specific hardware and perform that task. For example, you wanted to see what is the date and time in the system. So you will access the shell and you will run a command date. When you run a command date, that command will be converted into binary and kernel will then understand that you are asking it to check the date and time. So it goes to motherboard CMOS battery. There is a battery fixed on your motherboard that stores the date and time. So it goes to that battery and inquire that what is the date and time stored inside you. So hardware will respond back to kernel. Kernel will pass that information to shell. In which format? Binary format. So shell will convert that binary instruction into simple human readable format and present it to user. So this is the way the communication will go from top to bottom, from user till your hardware. All the commands will be executed on hardware level. Hardware is controlled by kernel and kernel only understand binary language. So we need an interpreter that is nothing but the shell. Different types of shells are there. Whichever shell you like, you can use it. But Unix or Linux uses one of the very user-friendly shell whose name is Bash. We'll learn about that shell and all in shell scripting and some other topics in the classes. But as of now, you just understand that shell is someone who is a translator or converter who convert my information to kernel and kernel's information to my. And that's how in the coordination we will be working with the system, right? So this is the architecture of your Unix as well as Linux, that how it performs and how it works. Now moving ahead, let's learn that how Unix or Linux stores the data in the system. If I take you to my Windows, my computers, inside it, you can go to C drive. Now in C drive, as soon as you enter, it displays one folder called Windows. Now, when you go into Windows, you will find all important folders that stores different data. Now, in the same manner, Unix will also store the data in different directories under one main directory. There will be one main directory. Inside it, the entire operating system's data will be spanned. You will have separate directory that would be storing some important data. The same way how the Windows directory maintain a different subdirectories and store different data inside it. So how Unix and Linux will store the data? Let's try to understand that. So this is the way the file system of Linux will store the data. Now just have a look on this statement, what I mentioned at the top. Linux uses single-rooted inverted tree-like file system hierarchy. Now, what does that statement means? Let me explain you in a very simple manner. Guys, when you see a tree, you'll see a tree will be something like this. The roots of the tree will be at the bottom and the tree will be at the top, isn't it? That's the general way how we see the tree. Roots will be at the bottom and the whole tree will be at the top. But if you look into that statement, it says Linux uses single-rooted inverted tree-like file system. Now, what does that mean? See, if you invert the tree, it looks like this. The tree will come at the bottom and root will come at the top. But how many roots does it have? It says it have only one single root. Linux uses single rooted inverted tree-like file system where root will come at the top and the whole operating system tree will come at the bottom. So it is inverse tree where single root is there containing everything inside it. So that's what the statement is telling us. So with this, we have understood one thing, that Linux uses one root, which is the topmost thing. Inside that root, the whole tree will be sitting. So that means there is one main directory. Inside that main directory, there are branches of subdirectories that stores different important data. The top level directory that contains the entire operating system is this forward slash. Forward slash is called as root directory. Like in Windows, I showed you there is a Windows directory containing all the important stuff inside it. Same way, in Linux, the topmost directory is that forward slash. When you go into forward slash, you will find many more subdirectories inside it. So the whole OS is sitting under that forward slash. That's the reason it is called as the top level directory. From that slash, you can enter into operating system. Forward slash is the gateway, the doorway for your operating system where entire operating system data is maintained. It is very much same like Windows folder, what we have seen in Windows. Now, when you step into forward slash, you will see many subdirectories inside it. One of the important directory is root directory. Just keep this structure in your mind. Forward slash is the main directory. When you go into forward slash, you will find many subdirectories like you are having root, you will have home, you will have some other directory like boot or something. So when you go into main directory, it contains many subdirectories inside it. Okay, so root is the topmost directory that contains many subdirectories. So root is home for the entire operating system. When you step into root, you will get many subdirectories holding different data. The second directory what we access after going into root is slash root. Now slash root is a home directory for root user. Now most of the time if you don't understand this line properly, it may create some confusion. So what does it means that it is a home directory for root user? First of all, who is this root user? See in the bracket, I have mentioned that it is a super user. Now, what do you mean by super user? Guys, in Windows, you have the most strongest user called as administrator who can do anything or everything in the system. Same like that, in Linux, we have the topmost, the most powerful user, which is called as super user. And what's the name of that user? The name of that user is root user. So root user is an administrator, and in Unix or Linux, we only have one root. Of course, you can give administrative right to other users, but only one user is the most powerful user who can make admins also. But the most powerful user in Unix is root user who can do anything. Now for root, there is a separate directory to store root's personal data, which is /root. So whenever you log in as root user, you will get access to /root user where root user's personal data, all his files, all the directories, whatever it might be, will be stored inside. It's like you're working in an office and there is a boss who has a separate room, cabin where he works, right? So where he stores his personal stuff. So for root, there is a personal room, personal cabin where root will be sitting and operating the tasks. Now, apart from root user, you may have many other users, normal users, limited privilege users. So when you have a normal users or limited privilege users, for each user, there will be a personal home directory. Every user will get its personal directory to store their data. But root is a privileged special user, so root will get a separate room to store his data. But all the normal users, whatever we have in the system, they will have their home directories created in /home. So again, let me draw an architecture for you. So we have the topmost directory /. In that topmost directory, you have many subdirectories. You have root directory, which contains root's personal stuff. Same way, you have home directory. Inside home directory, again, you have subdirectories. Now, suppose you have a user called Shabir. So you'll see there is a directory called Shabir to store Shabir stuff. You have one more user called Arjun, so you'll find Arjun stuff here. You have one more user called Satya, so Satya's directory will be there. Root is a privileged user, he'll get a separate location. Nobody can access it, only root can access it. But for all normal users, there will be a common hall in which cubicles are made. Suppose we are working in an organization, for all the staff, they'll maintain a big cubicles in which people will be working at same place close to each other. So something like that. In home directory, you will have subdirectories for each user. But still, two users cannot go into each other's directory without permission. There is security, but still all normal users' home directories will be created in home directory. Root is privileged, so root will get a separate directory where nobody can enter apart from root. Okay, so this is where and this is how the normal users' home directories are kept. Then the next directory we have is boot. Now guys, the name itself is hinting you. What do you think it might contain? It contain bootable data that is required to boot your system, like kernel images, right? Or some bootable scripts that is needed to boot your system, right? And many other bootable important stuff will be stored in /boot directory. The scripts and files that is needed to boot your operating system is kept under /boot, right? Then we have another directory called etc. etc generally stands for etc. And the role of etc is to store all configuration files. Now, what is this configuration files? See guys, when you install a software or any other program, it might have a settings file. For example, you have installed VLC Media Player. Now in VLC Media Players, you'll do different types of settings, like different skins to be there, or sound levels to be different, picture format to be different. Now, don't you think that these settings will get stored at some place? So that file which stores the settings and configurations related to your softwares and application is called as configuration file. We have different type of configuration file like user configuration file, user's password configuration file, DNS configuration file, network configuration file, and application configuration files where their settings are going to get stored. All type of configuration file, whatever it might be, will be found in etc folder. Then the next directory is USR. Now USR stands for Unix Shareable Resources. Many of the people by mistake, they think that it contains some user information. As the name is USR, many people pronounce it user. Now when you pronounce it user, obviously you'll think that there is something user related stuff stored inside it. But let me tell you that there is nothing related to user inside this directory. It stores softwares. See, whenever you install the software, any kind of software, by default, where the software gets stored is USR. It is very much similar to program files folder in Windows. Whenever you install a software, it will get installed under program files. Same way in Unix or Linux, whenever you install a software, it will get installed in USR location. So USR stands for Unix Shareable Resources. It is not associated with anything related to user. It is a directory where all the softwares will get installed by default. Now, Unix is a very organized operating system, guys. We have two types of software, OS related software and third-party software. Like in Windows also, when you install the OS, you'll get Paint, you'll get Internet Explorer, you'll get some WordPad, and other related stuff, Notepad will be there, right? So those are called as OS related software. Now, guys, OS related softwares are not in for me. So I would be installing some useful third-party software, like we install Mozilla Firefox or Chrome for better experience of internet, right? We will install some WhatsApp software to be used WhatsApp in our system. So these are third-party software, the software that are not from the operating system. Operating system vendor, operating system manufacturer or developer has not created this software. So some other people will create the software, but you can install and use it on your operating system. So Unix gives a segregation that all OS related software can be installed in USR and non-OS software, third-party software can be installed separately in OPT. So USR should contain only OS related software and third-party non-OS software should be installed in OPT, an optional directory for user. So you can keep it in this way segregatively. Then we have two directories, bin and sbin. See, bin and sbin stands for binary and special binary. So these binaries are nothing but the commands what you can run in Unix environment. Now guys, when we say command, you have normal set of command and you have admin level commands. Normal set of commands mean what? Checking the date, creating a file, creating a folder or directory, writing something in the file, right? These are what? These are nothing but simple, normal, non-admin commands that can be run by any user in the system. There is no restrictions for these commands. These are ordinary, simple, low-level commands. But at the same time, you may have admin level commands. What are admin level commands? Rebooting the system, shutting down the system, changing the IP address of the machine, installing the software. These are all admin level activities, admin level commands. So these commands will only be allowed to be executed by root user, admin user, super user. So ordinary set of command that can be executed will be kept in bin and all admin level commands that can only be run by super user will be kept in sbin. Sbin stands for super user's binary file, right? Then when we move ahead, you will also come across a directory called dev. Now dev actually stands for device. It contains the information or the list of devices that are connected to your machine, especially hard disk, CD-ROM, right? The screen, terminals, monitors, keyboard, mouse, all the devices that are connected to your system network adapter, all that devices information is kept in /dev. It is very much similar to device manager of Windows. When you go into device manager, it shows you the list of devices that are connected to your system. Same way, if you want to see all the devices information that is connected to your system in Linux or Unix, then you can go into dev directory, which contains the list of devices that are connected, printer, scanner, all that kind of devices. Then we have our next directory called proc. Guys, proc contain process files. Guys, every ongoing activity in the system is called as process. And each process will have an ID associated to it, which is called as process ID. It would be consuming some CPU, it would be consuming some memory, it would be consuming some network resources. So you want to have information about all the ongoing processes and their utilization. So that information of all the ongoing processes and their information is stored in /proc directory, which contains your memory information, RAM and swap information, CPU information, etc. Okay. Then we have our next directory called var. So /proc is very much similar to your task manager, what you have in Windows. When you open task manager, it also shows you processes and its consumption. The next directory is var. Var contains variable data like mails, log files, etc. See, two users can exchange email. To exchange email, definitely you need a mailbox. So all users' mailbox is kept in var. And guys, whenever an event occur in the system, for example, you logged in into the system, that's an event. So when you logged in, from what IP you logged in, that information is stored in log file. Or something happened in the software, or you have connected to some other machine. All these events will be stored in the form of log, which is very important at the time of troubleshooting, where you can find out how the things are working and how the things are going on in the system, right? That's called as log files, and logs are stored in var directory. Then we have another directory called TMP. TMP stands for temporary directory. It allows softwares to store temporary data while the softwares are running. See guys, when you run a software, maybe you open a browser. So some data in the backend will be stored for your benefit. That will be only needed till the browser is running. So browser will keep their temporary stuff in TMP folder. And as soon as you will be deleted. So TMP is a place where softwares will keep them some data for a small period of time, temporary. Once the work is over, the data will get automatically deleted. So that's the role of TMP. Then guys, you have MNT and media. These are two directories that contains access to your hard disks, partitions, or CD drives, pen drives, etc. Now guys, when you see these drives or devices, hard disk, CD, pen drive, there are two types of hard disk and data disk, something like that. One is removable media and the other one is non-removable media. Non-removable media is nothing but the hard disk that is connected to your laptop, desktop, or server. Internal drives that cannot be removed. So if you have an internal drives with partitions, you want to access it, then the default location to access your internal drives is MNT. But at the same time, we might connect removable media like CD-ROM. You insert the CD-ROM in CD tray, sometimes you read it and again you'll remove the CD-ROM. Or you use a pen drives, flash drive, USB drives. Sometimes you connect it to USB, you'll use it and again you will remove it. So these are called as removable media. So all removable media can be accessed through slash media location. Internal non-removable disks can be accessed through MNT, and removable medias like pen drive, CD drive, tape drives can be accessed through slash media. The last directory is slash lib. The lib stands for library files directory. Now, what are these library files, guys? See, guys, to run your softwares perfectly, to support the software, some programming libraries like C libraries, Java libraries, .NET libraries are required. If these libraries are not present, your software will not work. So we are not going to install or work with the libraries. Sometimes we will install the libraries, but most of the time, when you install any software in the backend, libraries will get installed so that the software should work perfectly. So those set of libraries which are required by software and operating system will be stored by default in slash lib. Those can be your Java libraries, those can be your .NET or C program libraries, whatever is required by your software. So these are the most important directories of your Linux operating system. Without the knowledge of this, we may get confused that this directory store what's or that directory store what's. So today we got information about how Linux stores the data. The topmost directory is forward slash. When you go into forward slash, which is called as root directory, when you enter into root directory, you'll get the entire operating system stuff. Inside root, there are separate directories that stores important data associated to your operating systems. Now guys, if you want to see that physically, I'll take you to one of my Red Hat Linux machine which I have already installed. Tomorrow, when we install Red Hat Linux, you can also go inside it and you can work with that. See guys, let me try to log in into my Linux machine and I'll try to show you that how it stores the data. You'll learn all this stuff in the coming times. You will also be able to log in and you will also be able to work. But I just wanted to show you that how graphically it looks like Windows and when you log in, how the stuff will be appearing. So I'm just trying to log in, and guys, in Linux, usually there is no free logins, like without any password, any user can log in. That kind of thing will not be work. Okay, there is a question coming in from Satya that what is the difference between slash dev and media? See, slash dev contains information about your devices. Like if I go to device manager, if you go into device manager, it shows me what are the devices connected. For example, here is my disk. So if you view, it tells me that there is a Samsung so and so model disk is available. So I can see information to it. But if I want to store the data inside it, I cannot just right click and store the data inside it, right? So what I have to do, I have to go to my computer. So just think that my computer is nothing but your media folder. So if you want to access that drive, you want to put the data inside it, then you have to go to slash media. So slash media will allow me to access my removable disks like CD drive, pen drive. So slash dev will tell you that pen drive is connected, what is the model, what is the driver, and all that. But slash media will help you to access and put your data inside it. Am I clear, Satya? Are you able to understand the difference? Great. So let me take you to that place where all the data is stored. So you see, as I logged in as root user, it is showing me the data of root. Let me take you to the mother directory where I can show you. Probably in command line I can show you better. Okay guys, I'll go into slash. You see it is telling you that right now you are in the topmost directory. If you do ls or something, here you can find out, like you have bin, you have dev, you have boot, you have home, you have media, you have library, you have mnt, you will also have media folder. All these things will be available over here. Now I have created many things inside it, so you are seeing lots of other directories and files, but actually this is the place. So when you go into forward slash, you will get the whole operating system stuff. Like you see home directory. Now if I show you what is inside home directory, it contains subdirectories, which is nothing but home directory for the users. There are 4 users created. My user, so my user has a separate directory. U1 has a separate directory. U2, it has a separate directory. U3, it also has a separate directory. Anyway, graphically or other ways, it might be displayed in this way. So you can just go, and over here you can find all the directories like boot, etc, home, media, library. If I go into home directory, it might show the subdirectories of that user. So graphically, it is very much similar how we work with Windows environment. But what makes us different from Windows users is the command line. So very seldom you will see that I'll be taking you into graphics. 99.9% we will only be working on command line, right? Because command line is the powerful mode to control the operating system easily and work with that more efficiently. So that is it, guys, for today's stuff. Today's stuff is this much only. In tomorrow's class, I'll be teaching you how to install Red Hat Linux. So tomorrow also same time we will conduct a class, because next day is Sunday after that. So I want you on Sunday, you can do the installation and prepare your lab with me. If there is any problem, you can let me know. I'll help you with that. So tomorrow's class is also an important class where we will learn how to do this virtualization. We will also learn a small virtualization software to install Red Hat Linux. We will be using that. All about that I'll be explaining you tomorrow. So nothing to be done today. Today's class is this much, guys. Now, if you have any question related to today's class, you can ask me anything. And also, I would request you to put your Gmail IDs in chat window so that I can share the recordings and other important stuff with you people. So kindly put your Gmail IDs in the chat window. That will be used by me to send you the documents and all whatever is required, especially the recordings, guys. Few of you, I already have the IDs. The other ones, I would request to put there. Yeah, thank you, Shabir. Thank you, Arjun. Satya, if you can please give your Gmail ID. Why I'm asking Gmail ID is because I share it through Google Drive, so there will be no problem in accessing if you can share a Gmail ID. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Satya. Now, anyone is having any questions or query, you can put your questions now.